Good morning, App Properties. It's Tuesday, April 14th, and I'm Amy Corr. Thank you for joining me and Kevin Van Eck for another episode of Coffee with Amy and Kevin. Good morning, Kevin. It's a little cold today, especially down in Chicago. It's sunny but cold, right?
Hey, Amy, good morning. Yeah, it's sunny, so the sun seems like it would be warm if you go outside, but actually it's quite cold. So if anyone goes outside, you will feel it too, but we know that warm weather is coming sometime. So good morning. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Yes. Thank you for joining us. We've heard from quite a few people over the last several weeks. So we've had guests on, like, of course, Mike and Thad almost weekly. We've heard from brokers. We've heard from special guests like Matt Anderson, who talked with us about habits. Today, we're bringing on a couple of managing brokers to talk about their perspective and what they're seeing and working with the brokers in their offices and throughout the company. So I think we're going to get a unique perspective when it comes to what they're seeing, the questions they're answering. And then also, we're going to ask them a question about if they were still in the business, if they were still working with clients, what would they be doing?
Thanks, Kevin. Yes, I'm really excited. We have George Schultz and Natasha O'Connor with us this morning. George is the managing broker of our Bucktown office and also manages in Michigan and Indiana. And Natasha manages our offices in Glenview and in Northbrook. So good morning, guys. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Amy and Kevin.
Good morning.
Hi, Natasha.
Hi. How's everybody doing?
We're good. We're good. So, George, I wanted to start with you. Wanted to get a sense, both you and Natasha are, really working with a lot of brokers right now on just their day-to-day, how to stay impactful, making sure that they're servicing their clients. So just wanted to get a general sense of, what are you guys seeing out there? So, George, let me start with you.
Well, a lot on a really specific level, a lot of questions that are coming my way depend upon what market they're coming from. So in Chicago last week or a week and a half ago, when they changed it to no showings with tenants, we're getting a lot of questions on whether or not that someone can show, even if the tenant says yes, or in multi-unit buildings, how do I show? And the bottom line is the state shut down all showings with tenant occupied properties, no matter if the tenant says yes. And one of the big things is if you're in a condo building and someone else sees you showing a unit, you could be reported and get in trouble. On the other side of the lake, where in Michigan they're completely shut down, a lot of questions come about what can I do, what can I not do, and over there it's you can work in real estate 24 hours a day as long as it's virtual. And we've had to clear up a lot of confusion about what to do with walkthroughs and are inspections allowed? And then in the greater sense, agents, in talking to them, it's just getting an idea of how they feel about what's going on, keeping them motivated, keeping them working, and the general question of what's going on in this market and where is this market going in the future. And so you guys have done a great job, and we've had a lot of conversations about what we think will happen out of this. And that's really what it is making people feel comfortable and confident in communicating their message about what's going on. What are you seeing, Natasha?
Thank you, by the way. Thanks, Amy and Kevin, so much for doing this every day. It's awesome. So thank you. I'm seeing a little bit of the same questions about really how to do their job in this environment. An appraisal, how do I handle a closing? What do I do in those situations? So I'm still getting some of those questions, of course. But overall, it's been interesting. I feel like everyone has sort of come to terms with the fact that there isn't a deadline on this just yet. And the anxiety around that might be reduced, which I think is everyone's staying positive and really just doing their job. I'm really proud of the brokers out there.
We've talked a little bit about habits, routine. Even Thad said yesterday to take the time each day to walk and talk. What are some of the habits that you're seeing right now from your brokers out there? Because there's, a wide range of, brokers, some being super busy, some being really slow. So what are some of the habits that you're seeing right now from your brokers? Natasha, why don't you kick off?
Sure. So one thing that sticks out of my mind is the ninjas, the keeping some structure, trying to really apply that to your day, do your regular calls, note cards, whatever you can do to create structure is something that I'm seeing coming out of this. Another thing that I heard, and I thought this was really good, was doing more due diligence, taking time, taking care in their business. So for example, I had an agent who had a buyer call her and say, I want to see a bunch of houses because they do need to move right away. And she just took more time. She said to me, she's like, usually I would just jump in my car, schedule all these appointments, run around. This time she called the agents, she Google mapped it, to see where is this property located. She really drilled down to what might be the best fit. And, a lot of that was for safety reasons, but she just said, she's like, I think I need to do this more going forward. I need to take more time, take more care. So
George, what are you seeing in regards to habits?
Well, one of the biggest things that is happening right now is agents are forming consistent habits, consistent daily routines. How many times as an adult have you ever said, oh my God, I'm just overwhelmed. I have no time to do anything. And I would love to just have a pause. Well, we have a pause. We have an opportunity here. It's a gift in some ways because everyone has more time to perfect their craft, to figure out what they need to do and be doing. And we're seeing agents out there thriving doing so. They're realizing that these phone calls, these Zoom calls, the video conferencing, all these things are having a great effect on the relationships that they're built, and they're enhancing them because, we are realtors, and by design, we are built for this. We demonstrate care, duty, loyalty, and skill. And on a daily basis, agents are finding new things out about their clients. They're leveraging the human capital that they have because, in a normal market, you have agents that are willing and able to spend money and invest in marketing, and you have those that are neither willing or sometimes not able. Right now, they all have unlimited resources in giving of themselves. And so that's really what I'm hearing about is success stories of people that are calling, that are thriving in the market. I've got agents that are busy doing the day-to-day, showing, selling contracts and things like that. And I've got agents that weren't really as busy, but they're building a pipeline because they're reaching out and they're getting great success from that.
That's really cool. You started that conversation with talking about a pause. And that's something that I know Amy and I have talked about. Amy mentioned it yesterday. There was an interview with Brad Inman, and there was a woman on there, Vanessa Bergmark, and she's really well known. She's on the West Coast with a company called Red Oak Realty. And she is effectively the at properties of that area. And one of the things she talked about was in terms of during this pause, being able to innovate, think outside the box, do all the things that you didn't have time for before. So I think your advice is good in saying, and someone taking what you're seeing and putting it into their business, where if there was ever that point where they said, I'm too busy to do that, or I've got too much going on, now's the time to do it. Natasha, I wanted to ask you, because George told us a little bit of the success stories there. And I want to go back to George, but Natasha, what are there success stories you're seeing from the actions that agents are taking now?
Yeah, I am. Anything from, just the general comments about doing those calls or making those contacts every day. Everybody's looking for a connection right now. I know just getting on the calls and seeing people's faces just brightens my day. So, just the feedback of I simply called, asked, how are you? Are you okay? Can I do anything for you? That, has been really tons of positive feedback there. And of course, there's always questions that they can answer and they feel valued. Beyond that, I've had things like somebody won a listing over FaceTime. So that was kind of cool. And then we've had a few virtual sales. So there are things that are working out there and people are really doing a great job adapting and figuring out how do I really become valuable, do my job, and also creating a great experience. So that's what people will remember in the end.
I think it's so interesting because people have really had to kind of adapt to this new norm so quickly. I was talking with Mike and Thad yesterday, and, I actually think that in many ways it's going to help us all emerge as better at our jobs, right? Because now, so many agents who are really uncomfortable with getting on technology, whether it be, getting in front of a camera, in front of their iPhone to do a quick little video now is becoming, second place and, or very normal for them. And I also just think the amount of comfort that so many agents I've heard are getting around social media because they're recognizing now more than ever, everybody is online, you know, because as we are sort of taking this pause and everybody is stuck at home, there's sort of this whole new norm. And so I think it's really an interesting thing kind of coming out of our industry. But I wanted to ask you guys, final question. If you're a broker right now in this environment, what specifically would you be doing? And Natasha, I want to start with you.
All right. Well, first of all, I would be doing what a lot of my agents are doing is creating structure, having a daily routine, making, you know, X number of calls per day, obviously, you know, based on my database, just reaching out as much as I can. And the other thing I would really be thinking about is, you know, how am I going to be marketing myself in this new environment and what's going to be working when we come out of this? So I think that's a lot of what I'm having a conversation about. Should have mentioned earlier, but really, you know, what is that going to look like at the other end? So I can come out of here with flying colors. So I'd be thinking a lot about that, just kind of reinventing that. You know, and then just, again, back to what I mentioned earlier is experience. I really think that creating a great experience is what creates referrals. And I think there was a podcast yesterday that was really great. They talked about serve, not sell. You know, they just talked about people love a great experience. They love to get something a little extra. So I would be putting some thought into how I'm going to do that now because I do have a little more time.
So focusing on serve, don't sell, like solve the problem right now and focus on the people. And I think the sales come out. And then I think also, you also pointed out, you know, taking a step back and really looking at your business so that coming out of this in the next few weeks or months, you're going to come out even stronger as a broker. That's great advice and great points. George?
Mm-hmm.
Well, right now, I think is a great opportunity to reinvent yourself and establish what you want your brand to be and what you want personally and professionally. And in terms of actions to take, I mean, there is no better time than now to be calling every single person in your database. And so to say that could take, you know, years. You know, don't look at it and approach it that I'm going to call 1,000 people today. In part of building those daily habits, if people are calling 5 people and writing 5 notes, they're reaching out to a lot of people by the time that we're done with this. But I would have those conversations with every single person. And then in terms of tools, you know, really activating your CRM so that when you come out of this, you know, it's there to remind you to talk. You know who you need to talk to. And as Natasha said, in terms of serving, you know, the conversations now aren't, do you want to buy or sell? It's how are you feeling? You know, what really scares you about this? And with the relationship growing between people and their homes, you're finding out a lot about what could be something that would provoke change in their lives. And then later on, they would be moving. So cataloging and making notes on every single person right now and, you know, saying who's an A, who's a B, who's a C. That's what we have the time to do. And also you do it in a way that really enhances the relationship. Beyond that, I would be looking at tools like AdWorks. AdWorks right now, with everyone being online, it gives you an opportunity for a low cost to reach an extended group of people on a regular basis and have your brand in front of them. And then for those in Chicago, ZenList, I think, is a great tool right now. Because if you can get your buyers searching on a platform that has you as the main point of contact for every listing they see, it'll enhance the way you work and make sure that they're calling you and reaching out when they have questions, because it's a great tool for people to use. But overall, it's about building positive habits right now. It's about staying engaged and getting engagement. We have agents like, you know, Rita Cairns or Amanda McMillan. If you see online, they're having great posts that are giving people information about the market, but also engaging them or asking them to do something. Agents in Michigan who are stuck at home are having these great social interactions online. The Workmans have a great contest every week. Liz Rock is having a contest where people are guessing where a place is or when this picture was taken. So it's showing both a personal and professional side. Because the more that you give of yourself, I think it live and interacting with people, but also online, can get you that strong relationship and promote and give kind of business that will excel out of this crisis.
I love that. I love what both of you said, because really, for those of you that have been through Ninja, and those of you that maybe haven't yet, Ninja talks about two parts of the business, that there's an art and science, and effectively it's the personal relationship side, and then it's the business side, and each one of you touched on that. You know, Natasha, you talked about in terms of, you know, serving, not selling, and really fostering the relationship. And that reminded me of something Emily Sachs-Wong had said in the past about grand gestures, about how, you know, things that you can do that really overwhelm someone in terms of how they feel about you. And I think now it's easier than ever because people are trapped in their homes. So it could be 18 bagels with 2 tubs of cream cheese from the cap gift that is that grand gesture. And then you talked about, you know, resetting and redoing your business and making sure you're still in front of people, but not in a salesy way. So using the tools that are available in order to do that. So thank you both for joining us. Really appreciate it. For everyone watching, you know, I hope you took some notes, because as we're having guests on, they're providing all these different perspectives. And I know there's going to be some repetition here, but the key with that is there is repetition because we know what works. There is a plan for success in real estate, and it does come down to relationships and staying in front of your people. And so that's why you're hearing some of the same things over and over again. And I would look inside. I would take a look at your daily habits and your actions and see if you are actually doing these things. And if you're not, start today. Call 2 people, write 2 cards, whatever it might be. One of the best things we've heard, Amy, over the last few weeks was Caroline Starr and her advice she gave one of her team members, which was just to scroll through the phone book. And as you see each name, do something with it. Call, text, send a card, something. And I hope each one of us start to do that if we're not doing it already. So thank you again. Really great having you both on. And I hope you have a great morning.
Kevin, can I add one?
Thanks so much, guys. Enjoy the sun.
Can I add one thing real quick, Kevin? You know, I end every email the same to the agents, and it's be safe, be well, and be memorable. And I think that that's the key when we talk about fabled service. Right now, it's about being memorable as who you are and doing something. You will be more memorable if you can make someone feel better at the end of an interaction than anything. And that's what today is all about.
That's great. Thank you for adding that. And yes, have a great morning, everybody, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.